Howdy, everybody. Welcome to Liberty Libations. My name is Jake Green. Thanks for joining us tonight. We're just going to chat about a whole bunch of Liberty stuff, maybe some culture stuff, maybe some just utter nonsense. We've got a couple guests with us today. Sarah, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks for having me. My name's Sara Higdon. I am a content creator and public speaker, freelance writer, mostly in human events and the post-millennial, and then just kind of all around. I make a lot of different content, wear a lot of different hats. So again, thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining. Zane, who are you?
Hey guys, I'm Zane Placey. I live in Sandy Springs, newly elected LP secretary, and my day job is being a pension consultant. So as you can probably tell, this is the most interesting thing that I've done all day.
And Zach, quick intro for you, buddy.
I'm going to copy Zane. So I'm the chair of LP Georgia. I guess I can admit that now. And then I'm a security consultant during the day. So
interesting, like like bodyguard security, that kind of security.
No, like the dorky cyber stuff.
Gotcha. Well, nice. Well, thanks all everybody for joining. There's State of the Union was this week. We've got a whole bunch of news to talk about. The first of which we'll just go ahead and kick it off with a tab that I've got open. To no one's surprise, Democrat Senator John Fetterman is hospitalized. I mean, just like, I mean, it's not funny, but I mean, what did people expect after how long? It's been like 3 months in office, 2 months in office, and he already can't serve. I mean,
yeah, he can't do his job. Didn't he have a stroke that they like hid?
Yes, yeah. He had a stroke like 6 months before the election. They hid it for as long as they could, and then it came out. And by the time it came out, people had already voted. Like voting had already started, so people had already voted for him, and so they couldn't take their vote back, even though they had this new information.
And that's what's crazy is so in the state of Pennsylvania, you can see that they do this. They don't really seem to care who they're voting for. They do vote very much on party lines because they voted for Fetterman. And then didn't they vote somebody who actually passed away into office too?
I think so. Yeah, I think that was Pennsylvania as well. I think there were a couple of those this time. Wasn't one in Arizona?
I kind of think one was in Georgia. Like there was somebody who died a few days before the election. So it's like legitimately they probably couldn't have done anything about it. But
well,
I could be wrong.
Yeah, if it's days before the election, early voting could have accounted for a lot of it too, So
yeah,
and some of that too is you get the person into office, you let the person that you're going to vote anyways, and then possibly somehow you get a change in there too. You get to choose who you put in that position.
Yeah, is that the like what is the actual protocol?
No, there would have to be. I would think that there would have to be another election because usually when seats become vacant for whatever reason, you have another election on it.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be that way with the presidency, right? It would just be vice president takes over.
Yeah.
So I wonder,
what if they could never be sworn in?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah. I don't know how that works, but obviously this surprises absolutely nobody. Obviously we wish him the best, but
yeah.
Like
it's serious stuff. Like I had a professor in college who had a stroke, and the entire semester was just a joke because he couldn't teach, and nobody had the heart to like tell on him, or like we didn't probably care that much.
Yeah,
but he couldn't use English. He would, start to count and numbers would be wrong. He'd be like, "Let's divide into groups. We'll be 1, 2, tray, fatats." Like he would just say random words.
Oh no.
And like, I love the guy. He was so sweet, but shouldn't have been teaching. Definitely shouldn't be a senator.
That's exactly how the debates went. He would have complete filler words that made no sense in what he was saying. They're like, I don't know how Oz lost to John Fetterman.
It's Pennsylvania. I mean, that's
it is.
Like I said, they vote on party line, and that's about it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Pennsylvania seems like at least 3 states too. So I don't know. We should have the Pennsylvanian on for this. I
Yeah,
don't know
we
where
should
Nick
have.
is, but
Nick's doing
like,
bylaws
I've been in
meeting.
middle Pennsylvania a lot, and it feels like Georgia. And then you go to Philadelphia or Pittsburgh, and it's completely different.
Yeah, I'm doing a speaking event just outside of Philadelphia in March, and it's really interesting because like we're speaking up there because the school is super woke. And it was offered to bring me and Chloe Cole up there to speak to students and teachers, and they denied that, even though they had like this super woke activist teaching, you know, basically queer how teaching the teachers how to teach queer theory to children. So like elementary school teachers how to teach this stuff. So it's like
Interesting.
you can tell where their values lie in that area.
Yeah. So you were denied?
Yeah, we were denied. And so I mean we made it a big story, and we're gonna do a speaking event anyways now. That was kind of always the plan. But
nice.
I mean that was pretty big. I mean, actually I wrote it for the Post Millennial, wrote the story for them, and it got some pretty good coverage.
Love it. Sarah, what kind of content do you create, and like what kind of what do you write for, and what kind of writing do you do?
Yeah, well, so I freelance, and I mostly write with the Post Millennial and Human Events. So Human Events are usually just op-eds, and I mostly write about LGBT and trans issues, biggest topic probably out there right now. And yeah, whenever a news story comes up that I think might be interesting for the Post Millennial, I send it over to them and then write it up there. I'm also the assistant editor over at Reality's Last Stand, which is Colin Wright's Substack.
Okay.
And then I have my YouTube channel. I do some interviews, but mostly, just whatever content is out there for the day.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of your channel before we hopped on today, and I saw you react to who's that hockey player that didn't go out for warm-ups?
What was his name? Ivan.
Some Russian guy.
Yeah, Ivan something. I forget who it was.
Yeah, I thought that was a great video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any Russian, you can just be like, Ivan something.
something off. Yeah. Yeah, that was an interesting issue because like it's become just virtue signaling, and it's a way to control people. Like all these like celebration nights, it's like if you don't do this, you're gonna be called a bigot. So it puts these athletes in a super difficult position. Like what if they decide not to, then they get shunned.
Oh yeah.
And if they do, they could violate they could have a moral issue with themselves. And so honestly, you can almost do away with a lot of those nights that are just set up to virtue signal people.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean that happened with a bunch of football and basketball players for the like Black Lives Matter stuff in 2020. People got benched, people got cut. Yeah, it was really interesting because like you pointed it out, like his statement was super inoffensive and just very relaxed. He didn't seem to like hate anybody. He just didn't want to wear the jersey.
Yeah. And actually what didn't even get nearly as much coverage as him was the whole New York Rangers team decided not to participate in wearing the jersey. Yeah.
I guess it's easier to attack an individual than it is an entire group of men who go out and beat each other up.
Exactly. And that's like the one sport I watch is hockey, so it's really interesting, and it's like the last one to like not go so political, get too in the weeds with a lot of the political stuff.
Yeah. Who's your team?
What's your background that you like? Almost like hockey.
My background. Well, I grew up in Michigan.
Okay,
I grew
that
up
makes sense.
A Detroit Red Wings fan, so yeah, exactly. And so it's been my thing. I love it.
Nice. I kind of fell out of love with hockey. I could only keep so many sports in my brain as I like went into adulthood, and hockey didn't make the cut.
Yeah,
you only have so much time, I guess.
And that's true. I mean, I don't even really watch. I used to watch college football every Saturday
Yeah.
And then I haven't watched that in years.
That's the one I hung on to.
It used to be college football all day on Saturday, and then watch like 1 or 2 NFL games. I haven't watched the NFL in probably years now, and then it's been like 2 or 3 years since I watched really any college football.
Jeez, that's such a bummer.
And I've never really been into basketball.
Yeah, I like college basketball. Pro is just so boring to me. It's just like there's no defense. Drives me insane.
Yeah.
Just like people are just out for themselves and not the team. I hate it.
Well, then I moved down here and live here in Atlanta, and so I also started watching the Braves. So
yeah, it was a good time to start doing that.
Yeah.
So what brought you down here?
Okay, so yeah, I graduated college in 2009, and I actually joined the Army. So I was in the Army for 7.5 years as a logistics officer.
Wow.
And then I decided to get out in 2017, and Atlanta's where I really wanted to go. I didn't want to go back up to the cold in Michigan. I fell in love with the city because my last duty station was Fort Bragg, so I used to drive the 5 hours here every couple weekends and hang out and do stuff down here. So I loved it here, and that's why I moved.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. I know. Were you up at the Michigan convention? I guess it was at the beginning of last year.
Last year, no. I did go to the Michigan convention 2 years ago where Shane spoke.
Yes. Okay. I remember running into you there too. Then.
Yeah, it was over the 4th of July weekend.
Yeah.
I used to go up there a lot for 4th of July to see family and stuff.
Gotcha. Yeah, that was a fun convention. Yeah. We had a blast.
Yeah, that's actually right where I went to school. So
really,
like I went to college right down the street from there. Yeah.
Okay.
So spending time in the casino when you're a broke college student, that was always fun.
Yeah, been there. me and my old roommate both got fired from our jobs while we were living together, and 18-year-old kids, and we would go to the casino, play some Texas Hold'em, win our rent, and go home. It was great.
Yep. Unfortunately, a lot of college students go there and I guess lose their entire college tuition. So you win some, you lose some.
Did you have to be good at poker, or did you just have to stay sober?
That's a good question. We definitely stayed sober. My roommate is an incredible poker player. Mm-hmm. So he would win far more often than I would. But yeah, I mean, both of us were 18, so we weren't drinking.
Oh.
But we were playing at a table with a bunch of 40-year-olds, 60-year-olds who were, had been drinking all day and still playing Hold'em. So it wasn't incredibly difficult.
Yeah, I've heard from people that they would join poker tournaments at like 10 a.m. and people would still be drunk at the table. And it's just not being drunk would give you the advantage. So
that's such an easy thing to get an advantage on.
Well, that's how it is. Yeah. I mean, go to Vegas and it's like you just go in there and it's like, okay, everybody's drunk at all hours of the night, especially when you're playing, because when you're playing games, they just bring you drinks.
Yep. Yes, they love that. Zane, what do you how'd you get into the Liberty world?
Well, probably a story that people have been hearing a lot, which is starting off standard Republican, got tired of that, got more and more libertarian until the pandemic, which sent me right over the edge. And so figured I needed to get involved. So here I am. It was involved some with Young Americans for Liberty when I was at UGA. So I owe a debt of gratitude to some people there that, transformed me into from being a bit milquetoast to being a radical,
I love it. Are you from Georgia originally?
I've lived here since the beginning of high school. Lived a few places before that.
Nice.
So, cool. I like it here. It's good that it's not cold all the time. When I was a kid, I lived in places where it was colder, and when you're young, I think it's really fun to be in a place where it snows. But then when you get older, the value of snow kind of goes down and the inconvenience of snow rapidly increases. So I I've lived in good places for my age, that's for sure.
That's funny. I'd never thought of like moving to a place based on my age before, but I guess like retirees move to Florida a whole bunch, so that kind of makes sense.
Well,
And they also
for
snowbird, yeah.
county for the property tax benefits. So
Gotcha. Yeah,
They
I love
like
the
to
cold.
snowbird down there, right? So what they do is they go down there, or in the winter they go to Florida and then go back up to wherever cold state that they're at in the summertime a lot, because it gets too hot in the summertime down in Florida. So
Interesting.
that's why actually it's called so that's snowbirding. And then there's the people who go down to Florida, and because it's so hot in the summertime, then they move back up to Atlanta. So that's why you have a lot of what's called halfbacks in Atlanta. So they moved to Florida and then moved halfway back.
That's a good term. I like that a lot.
So they're moving from Florida to Atlanta because of the heat.
So they'll move from like
Like
Michigan,
Miami.
New York, or
Oh,
something like that,
okay.
and then they'll move down. They'll move down to Florida, and then they'll
okay.
realize it gets too hot in the summertime, and they'll move halfway back.
So they
It's
go
just-
from cold to hot to tolerable, but it's still
Exactly.
not great.
I think the Atlanta heat is worse than the Florida heat, especially if you're like on the coast. Like
I enjoy Florida heat. Like,
like if you're on the water and you get that light breeze from the ocean, that's way better than sticky
Oh, yeah.
Atlanta.
but I guess it's the water is the thing there.
Yeah.
It's like if you're in Orlando or the
Yeah.
middle of Miami, or I don't know.
Oh yeah, no, I
but
don't want to do that.
It's awful.
That was the other being in Vegas last year for Freedom Fest. It was like you're sitting outside, it's 113 degrees or something like that outside, and you're like 113 in Vegas is like a Atlanta 90, so it's not too bad.
Well, the nice thing in Vegas and out west is like your sweat actually does the job. You sweat,
Yes.
it evaporates, you feel cooler. Here,
Yes.
you just
Yeah.
sweat, and that means you get wetter.
Yep.
Yeah, so I was taking a road trip with my family a couple years ago, and we were in Death Valley in like July.
Oh
And
man.
So we took a picture with the thermometer. It was 120 degrees. I kid you not. I would rather have that than here in the summer when it's like 80% humidity.
I agree. Yeah, I grew up in Texas, and dry heat is way better than humidity, like hands down.
They'll suck. Don't get me wrong.
What really
This is a
sucks. So
little bit
I
worse.
actually went to basic training at Fort Benning, and it started in April. So you can imagine going through, and this was back in 2010, which was like the hottest summer on record in Georgia. So that was fun.
That's miserable. Well, y'all, biggest news of the week, in my opinion. Let me see if I can share my screen real quick. Seymour Hersh, how America took out the Nord Stream pipeline. It's being disavowed, and we're being told that it's utterly false by almost every single government entity that has commented on it. Has any of y'all gotten a chance to read this Substack?
I have not. I just saw this.
It's very long. Goes into great detail. It gives a lot of history behind like that whole area and what was going on and how the whole pipeline was built and all this kind of stuff. But it basically says that we absolutely were the ones that sent our guys in. They planted C4 on the pipeline like 3 months before the pipeline exploded. And the way it was detonated, according to this article, was that a Norwegian plane, because Norway was in on it, dropped a buoy into the water, which was able to send out a signal to contact the receiver on the C4. And then whenever Biden gave the word, they would detonate it. And so they detonated it. And this, I mean, I'm telling you, this article tells you a whole bunch of information and really seems to cover its bases. He's being made out to be some type of like conspiracy theorist. In fact, his Wikipedia was changed today to include conspiracy theorist. But I would like to, somebody tweeted this. For those who don't know who Seymour Hersh is, he broke the My Lai massacre story in 1969. He broke the clandestine bombing of Cambodia story. He's broken big stories ever since: Bin Laden, Syria, Hillary, etc. And so, despite people trying to make him out to be some type of nut job, he's actually a very good investigative journalist. And I think that the article, if you go to his Substack, Seymour Hersh, I think it's something to be taken seriously, because it would appear that we are directly involved, like 100% involved in what's happening in Ukraine. Let's see.
Surprising nobody.
Surprising nobody.
Yeah.
But, well,
And,
I mean, I think
and
it's
if
probably
three-letter organization.
Yes.
If the three-letter organizations are saying that it's false, then it's probably true. So
yeah. Yep.
I just did a quick search for conspiracy on Seymour Hersh's Wikipedia page.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know when everything was added. Could have been added last night, but it's like on May 20th, 2015, a former CIA officer and conspiracy theorist found his work credible. And then, so apparently, even if a conspiracy theorist agrees with you, that's bad. There's another, his stories, often alleging vast and shadowy conspiracies, have made a startling and often internally basically it's all like, this guy that we loved 5 minutes ago is now awful. He's out of the club.
Yep.
He told everybody what happened, that everyone, like, obviously we all knew that already. He just provided the investigative journalism.
Yeah.
And now he's, persona non grata. So
yep.
The hilarious thing about Wikipedia is, I remember in elementary school getting taught, oh, you can't trust Wikipedia because anybody can go on there and write anything. Yeah. And now it's like 10 or 15 years later, it's like the regime spends all their time hiring Wikipedia editors.
Yep.
It's amazing how quickly it just parrots whatever the three-letter agencies wanted to talk about. So from their perspective, it's like Wikipedia is a bastion of all the correct thinking.
I mean, it's absurd. We were expressly told, if you cite Wikipedia in your papers, it will be negated. Like, that does not count. You will receive points. Like, you'll get points taken off your essay or paper or whatever you're doing. Like, it just can't be trusted. Like, maybe for cursory things, like very superficial things like birthdays and stuff like that, and where things are. But like, when it starts doing opinions like conspiracy theorists, you should take that with a big old grain of salt.
Wow. Okay, so
I remember,
it looks like his Wikipedia page has been changed 7 times today and 6 times yesterday. The last time it had a change on it was February 2nd. There was 2 changes, and then January 14th. So it's not like it's getting changed a lot. So it got changed a lot in the last 2 days. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the conspiracy theorist bit was added today.
Yeah, let's see. I'll look at it. So it's at about midnight yesterday. Let's see what it says.
We should revoke his Pulitzer Prize.
Oops.
This is what I love. So if you go into web, the Wayback Machine, you can basically check all of this stuff.
Yeah, I love that.
Really, nobody believes Russia blew up their own pipeline, too.
I mean,
it's like people who are typing in that he's a conspiracy theorist for believing that Russia didn't blow up the own thing that they could have just turned off.
Right? I mean, in what world does that make sense? In no world does that make sense. Like, I don't understand why that was ever a theory posited by anybody. That makes absolutely no sense. Oh, we've got a 5th coming in. Mr. Stephen Hilton.
Cheers.
Cheers, brother.
So
what you drinking tonight, Steve?
Got some Arches Retrospect.
Arches Retrospect. What kind of beer is that?
Well, Arches, they're out of that's Atlanta, but it's really like College Park. Really cool stuff. They have a chemist on staff, and so they'll do like stylistic kind of beers. Like they have a Vienna lager, and they'll study the water table in Vienna and actually match the water profile before they make the beer with it.
Yeah, I've heard about that. They have
guys
like
go pretty in depth
packets
with this
that
stuff.
will add to the water too, where it's like we got Georgia water and then we added this packet and now it's Vienna water. I don't know if that's the same thing, but
Well, a lot of what they'll strip it down to like reverse osmosis to where it's just dihydrogen monoxide, and then put whatever minerals in it that they need.
Interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
so they go all out.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
like a Breaking Bad situation, kind of chemist.
Pretty good stuff.
Nice. I love it.
All right, yeah. So the screenshot from last night actually shows, it doesn't have anything about him being a conspiracy theorist in it. So it did get changed today.
That's so ridiculous. To help back up the article that we were just looking at, here's a little clip of Tucker.
The war in Ukraine even began. Both Toria Nuland at the State Department, the number 2 at the State Department, and Joe Biden threatened to blow up the Nord Stream pipeline. Watch.
I want to be clear with you today. If Russia invades Ukraine, one way or another, Nord Stream 2 will not move forward.
This was 13 months ago. This was 12 months ago.
That means tanks or troops crossing the border of Ukraine again. Then there will be no longer a Nord Stream 2. We will bring an end to it.
Russia did it.
But how will you do that exactly? Since the project and control of the project is within Germany's control.
We will. I promise you, we'll be able to do it.
So then the pipelines actually blew up.
And it all starts with finding this girl named Carol Ann.
Like what do you need more proof that we did it? I mean, honestly,
he needed to do like an Italian, like, don't worry, we'll do it. We'll take care of it. And then it would have been obvious, but
I mean, it's just absolutely bananas that people didn't immediately cite that on Twitter and all sorts, like all the news channels. They didn't immediately cite that as soon as the pipeline blew up. Like,
well, I want to sound like a broken record here. Alex Jones was all over it same day.
Shocker.
Right. He's and what a coincidence. The Navy SEALs are doing underwater demolitions exercises right in that area. With other nations.
Impressive. Like putting Alex Jones aside, for anybody to be able to be like, oh, wow, the Navy SEALs are doing this exercise. I bet they're doing ABC. And them to be right.
Right.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. It's like the 9/11 scenario all over again. Like, we were training for that exact scenario, same day and time. We just thought it was the simulation.
Hey, it's like the COVID one. We had a conference talking about this exact scenario 1 year before the COVID got released.
Oh yeah.
And
the stars.
Yeah.
I was going deep on Cynthia McKinney videos recently, and me and Steven were talking about that. But it's like she was asking those questions too. It's like, how many war games did you have going on in 9/11? And they had a bunch, but then they were all like, yeah, that actually made it better. Like we were able to respond faster. So I don't know. They have an answer for everything, and I'm not sure about that one either. But
the 9/11 one would make sense after 93, after the bombing happened. Yeah. So it was a known target, but other stuff, it's kind of why would you war game a lot of stuff?
Yeah, and the proximity of the war game to the actual event is the fishy part.
Well, government has always, or at least U.S. government has always invited conspiracy theories where they don't give the full information. They could explain it in a satisfactory way, but instead they're like, no, screw you. How dare you even ask that question? Like, right. I don't know. What do you expect?
Yeah.
Well, and that's what made Monica Perez so special on the radio here, because she was always talking about, limited hangouts. So it wasn't just controlled opposition. She was the one that was really... to me, I don't know if there's anyone else on it, but that, she was the first one that I heard talking about limited hangouts. People that actually had legitimate knowledge, but they didn't have the whole story. So they would connect their own dots, and then they just sounded crazy. No one would listen to them. And then no one's surprised when that thing happened, because they're like, oh, well, the crazy people have been ranting about that for the whole time.
Yeah.
So is that what a limited hangout is when you let somebody who can't really connect all the dots, put their story out there? I mean, I've heard
Pretty
that
much.
term. I just
So,
don't know what it means.
Alex Jones would be an example of that. So like he gets credible information because he's got, family in the CIA or, whoever else is sending him tips or whatever. But then, when he's not citing his sources and he's not reading from published documents and he's doing his own connecting the dots, well, now he sounds like a lunatic.
Yeah.
Because after you get so much of that and you're just in this little echo chamber where you're the only one that knows even a piece of the truth, you start to go nuts. And that's no one believes you.
That's fair. Isn't that how they like operate in like drug cartels? Like need to know basis. Like you only know a little bit of the plan, and
Right.
from then on you don't know. So you have like plausible deniability and all that kind of stuff.
When I remember,
it's like the Dark Knight movie. Remember when everybody had their part of the puzzle when they were robbing the bank, and then everybody started getting killed, and it was like, wait a second, I'm supposed to kill you.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, that is one of my favorites. When what was it? El Chapo's his second one in charge. I mean, gosh, this was I think Bush was still president when we arrested this guy. And so they were interrogating him, and they were like, so, who do you work for? And they were trying to roll him up on RICO stuff. But it was Border Patrol, CIA, DEA. They were asking him, hey, who do you work for? Where are you getting your drugs and your weapons? And he just laughed, and he says, your boss. And they're, what?
That's a great response.
Yeah.
And then it was confirmed during Obama when they had the Fast and Furious stuff. So,
yep.
Yeah.
When is it not confirmed? How many times has the conspiracy theory not been confirmed? Because we finally got the JFK one.
Well, sort of. There's still a few thousand pages.
Oh, we got it. Come on.
We all know. It's just they will still hold on and be like, nope, we didn't do it.
Yeah.
So did you ever watch that show, Hunting Hitler? It was on the History Channel.
No.
With it was Tim Kennedy, and there was a CIA guy, and there's another dude that's pretty popular, but Tim Kennedy's Army Ranger. He's still active in the field too. UFC fighter. He's big personality on social media. He's on Joe Rogan every now and then. But they did this Hunting Hitler show where they went down in South America looking for all the Nazi remnants and stuff that were from the 50s in Argentina and Peru and things like that. And I mean, they had actual schools. I mean, with the eagle and the swastika, the whole town still to this day speaks German, only German, and they're all white with blonde hair. Crazy stuff.
I've been to German towns in Argentina. I mean, and I didn't notice like blonde-haired, mustachioed people walking around, but you could definitely see German influences.
Oh yeah,
and,
oh yeah.
Like, they're there. And, I mean,
there was a place called Colonia Dignidad.
Well, a lot of Jewish people moved to Argentina during those years, so that would make sense why there's a lot of German influences as well.
Yeah.
Right, but these were the Nazis. I mean, we're talking swastikas and stuff. Talks of the Fourth Reich and all that kind of stuff. They had weapons factories. They converted toy factories to weapons like they found this stuff, and they were making because they still had some laying on the production line. That there were German rifles, World War II era German rifles on the production line, and that they were actually thinking that maybe whatever got JFK was one of those rifles.
Goodness gracious! I got to watch this show.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was great. Well, because so part of that was what was declassified in Trump's first year in office too, because he declassified a treasure trove of JFK files because Obama was supposed to do it and he didn't. And so then Trump gets in and releases some of that because a lot of it detailed how we were chasing literal Nazis in the early 50s in South America and parts of New York.
Interesting.
Well, under Trump, there was a Nazi arrested in New York, right? There was like a high-level guy.
Yeah.
I don't know. My role in this
There's been
just
some
come in and
years,
throw in
yeah.
bombs. Like, I don't know, but I'm fairly sure I remember that.
I mean,
Those
I
things
thought
have
all the
happened
Nazis were
throughout
in
the years.
Yeah, I thought all the Nazis were in Charlottesville that time.
That's true.
I didn't think they were in New York.
And there might be some in my hometown. People are getting stuff in mailboxes. Talking about the Torah is satanic.
Oh
and
yeah, you sent me a picture of that. That was so bizarre.
people are
Yeah.
so upset. Well, there's a guy. So, the town just north of me, Fayetteville. The north side of Fayetteville is, 20 miles, 20 minutes from the Atlanta airport, just on the south end. And there's, I don't know if it's the same guy doing all this stuff or what, but he's spray painting stuff on road signs, talking about, stop Anunnaki terrorism.
Oh yeah, we
And,
see that here too.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's great. I love driving by that stuff.
Like,
It's fantastic.
The signs we've seen I've seen, I always talk about me and my wife as like we. I don't know, but I have seen Anunnaki killed JFK, Anunnaki killed MLK, and then right now the signs say Anunnaki. No, hold on. Reverse that. They say vote, shoot, Anunnaki. That's all they say around us right now. But there's signs everywhere that say vote, shoot, Anunnaki. I don't know what in the world that is. I don't know if Anunnaki is a group or an Egyptian god or what, but
Well, these are
Wow.
here's the little things that Steve sent me.
Oh, yeah.
This is in people's mailboxes, you said?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
white supremacists are the only people who use this method too. It's like nobody else is throwing crap into your lawn.
And it's freaking, why are there oats in it?
Because they can throw it further.
Yeah.
So they just put oats in it rather than a
Sometimes
rock?
there's rocks, yeah. It's like the KKK has apparently done this. I don't know. I've seen online shit. Like,
So
I can't
weird.
confirm it. But it's
Yeah,
always
they
like a
calm
few
down and
pebbles.
Cornhole League.
I can't help but wonder if those oats are kosher.
That's true. Are they still cut?
Right.
Text from Dr. Bronner's soap bottle. Goodness gracious. Oh, man. But y'all, the rest of the videos that I have lined up are all depressing as crap. I don't know if we want to get to those quite yet. Or actually, we'll start with since we're already kind of talking about Russia and that whole scenario. Let's go to this one. So Zelensky addressed UK Parliament, Westminster Hall. Let's just play it. It's only a minute and a half.
We'll win. We know Russia will lose. And we really know the victory will change the world. And this will be a change that the world has long needed. The United Kingdom is marching with us towards the most important victory of our lifetime. It will be a victory over the very idea of the war. After we win together, any aggressor, doesn't matter big or small, will know what awaits him if he attacks international order. Any aggressor who will try to push the boundaries by force, who will inflict destruction and death on other peoples, who will try to endure his dictatorship at the expense of other people's blood in criminal and unprovoked wars, as the Kremlin does. Any aggressor is going to lose. Freedom.
Thoughts?
You'd think $100 billion, this guy could get at least one different outfit. Or is his closet like Ernest? Like he's got 9 of the same outfit.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, he's a puppet.
9 of the same
he's
outfit.
He's a freaking actor, man. Like
Right?
he gets his costumes picked for him. He doesn't get to choose his own clothing. Like he's an actor. This is what they do.
Yeah, he was not only was he an actor, he was propped up put in that position after the staged coup in 2013. So,
absolutely,
it's not even a good speech. It's just like Russia will lose. They're bad. We will win. We're good.
And most of the tons of the rest of the speech, which is never ending. He talks so slowly; it's infuriating. Talks a lot about freedom. And
well, he is speaking a second language. I'll give him that.
True.
But the the money laundering, child trafficking hub of the world
won't give him that.
Is on the side of freedom. Cool story.
Plus, I mean, he already banned Moscow-connected religions.
Which no, that is media spin too, because I feel like what they mean to say is he banned Russian Orthodox.
Yeah. I mean, he did.
Yeah. I was going to say, because Russia kicked everything out of Moscow but the Orthodox.
Yep.
I mean,
he also banned political opposition, nationalizes the media. Like, this is the guy talking about freedom and, and using other people for his own gain, for like other people using people for their own gain. And he's doing exactly that.
Yeah. Real freedom is just giving him F-16s.
Yeah, so like the first couple weeks of all this stuff, I did. Maybe this was only because I didn't know very much about the whole situation, but I was kind of a fan of this guy because there is something romantic and very libertarian about fighting to protect your homeland from people that are invading you. Like I once read Murray Rothbard's movie review of Red Dawn, and he actually thought that was a very good movie because it depicted a successful campaign against invaders, even though it was obviously very patriotic as well. But at some point, after the second or third $100 billion and your second or third celebrity tour to the UN and to Parliament, I think you at some point have to lose your status as freedom fighter.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing is when you realize that they've been fighting a civil war in the Donbass region again since 2013. It starts to lose that whole, anti, like the hero aspect of it too. Like he's been killing Ukraine has been killing their own people for years now.
Yes.
I've heard a lot of what you're saying, like they've been shelling the Donbass. What does that mean? So does that mean artillery?
Yeah. So shelling is rockets or just regular field artillery.
So it just means blowing you up.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. It's the same as like what you hear again, like in Israel, like when they start sending rockets and stuff into the Iron Dome defense system. That's shelling.
Yeah. And you probably know way more about this than we do, but I've seen videos recently of artillery where it's like a cursor on a map. And you choose and you're like, I want to kill that guy. And then you kill that guy. It almost seems like the drones where they're operating them from Arizona, but they're in like Iraq or wherever.
Well, I was going to say, drone situation is like that. You can actually literally pick out a target and it drops from the sky at that point. Yeah. Artillery is interesting because, you use map grids and you can shoot really accurately to a map grid. And it'll hit where you want. Rockets are even, rockets are exactly, you can shoot those from aircraft carriers or anything like that, and they'll hit the target. But they also have a lot longer target, time to target. So they're not as likely to kill somebody if that person's moving.
Interesting. Well, I have to address something that Zane talked about, which was Red Dawn, because that movie's amazing. It's a fantastic movie. Why? Who doubts or who hates that movie?
No,
the original.
So I have to admit, I've never actually seen the movie.
Oh my gosh!
I've just read Murray Rothbard's review of it.
I would say commies hate that movie. That's who.
Yeah, I agree with you. That movie's incredible. The remake was a travesty.
I have not seen a lot of movies. I'm very sheltered, so. You
haven't seen Red Dawn? I was sheltered as crap growing up, and my dad was obsessed with Red Dawn.
Since we're on this topic again, I will bring up that Murray Rothbard's only critique of that movie was, how like the band of fighters, they get killed off, and so the band kind of shrinks and shrinks and shrinks.
Yeah.
He said that a more realistic scenario would be what?
Spoiler.
Spoiler.
Oh, okay. Well, it's been out for 30 years. So Rothbard said that a more realistic scenario would be that a successful campaign like that would actually attract more people so that the revolution would actually grow. Because as people became encouraged by it.
I would agree with you. Especially,
I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, so what happens is this little town in the middle of Texas gets all of a sudden, kids are in school, people are just going about their day, tiny little town. All of a sudden, paratroopers drop in out of nowhere, Russian paratroopers, and take out a ton of people in the town, basically take the whole town hostage. About 10 to 15 high school age kids escape and like make it into the mountains, just on the outskirts of town, and like hide kind of, and then start fighting back. And they first try to survive, try to gather supplies, all that kind of stuff. Then they start fighting back and try to liberate some of their people who got captured, and they're now in concentration camps and all this kind of stuff. So it's fantastic. Don't watch the one with Chris Hemsworth though, because it sucks. Yeah, it's Patrick Swayze and who else is in it?
I don't know who that is.
Is Corey Feldman in it?
I don't remember. That sounds familiar.
One of those super popular 80s guys.
Another big name was in it. Who's the 2.5 Men? Charlie Sheen. Charlie Sheen was in it. Yeah, I mean, I can't believe, I thought everybody watched this movie. That's just depressing me now.
It's on the citizenship test right after Top Gun.
That's your privilege speaking.
Jennifer Grey is in it. C. Thomas Howell, Leah Thompson. I mean,
literally have no idea who these people are.
Oh my gosh, Zach, get a life, man. Come on.
That's fair.
I guess I'll have to watch this movie now.
To be fair, I think the life is not sitting and watching movies.
Hey,
a
movie. Go watch the movie outside. I don't care. Just go watch the daggone movie.
I may have watched these movies. I just didn't. I didn't have still no idea. It's my fault.
I really like that Rothbard reviewed the movie. That's pretty cool. I got to go read his review of it. And you're right. It kind of is. And like he's right in that it would definitely inspire more people to join up with them, because they did die. Like, they get killed by professional military over a period of a couple of years. But I do think that heroism on the part of a few definitely gets more people to join the cause. So
I feel like every redneck in rural Georgia is ready for that, though. Like, I've met so many that are just like, if the Chinese come down the street, I'm ready. I'm like, well, it's not going to happen, but I'm glad.
Yeah, I do feel like
a balloon floats over my house, I'll be ready.
Right. How high up was that balloon? I forgot about that.
60,000 feet.
In the stratosphere, I think.
Holy crap! And you can see it from the
ground.
ground.
There were stories about it, because there was one several years back that I think it was Newfoundland got their ass kicked because they couldn't bring one down. They were shooting all kind of just bullets and shooting missiles at it. None of their artillery could go high enough to do enough damage to pop it.
Meanwhile, they're just raining down ammo from the skies onto the ground below.
That's a scary situation too, especially since we've been hearing all about EMPs for years being the number one threat to the U.S. that can knock out the entire power grid.
Yeah.
But what was even scary about this one is once it gets over the U.S., I don't know how you shoot it down over the U.S., honestly, because what if it has COVID 2.0 in it?
Yep.
And
yep.
No, it's literally meant to disperse over a whole town.
So,
but didn't they also see it coming?
So up until China actually took responsibility for the balloon, I was about 75% convinced that it was an op.
I was too.
And I'm still pretty sure we're not getting the whole truth about it. But when there are just so many, I mean, going back to the conspiracy theory conversation, I try not to get too deep into those. But over the past 2 or 3 years, there have just been so many theories that are now like irrefutable fact that have literally been proven to be true. It's like, how can I don't necessarily have to believe that every theory is true, but it's a lot harder to rule any of them out at this point.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and that was so. My knee jerk was going to some kind of weather weapon. They were trying to monitor, because the one that we were following all across the U.S. We ignored the one over Hawaii, we ignored the one over South America, and I think there was like 1 or 2 others. But this one we were following was carried by the jet stream, which we decommissioned our HAARP program, HAARP. Obama decommissioned that, and that base and that radio array went to private sector for various studies, because I guess we have something else in place now. But China they have government departments with their own website talking about weather manipulation, cloud seeding for, to extend the monsoon season, like we used in Vietnam on the Ho Chi Minh Trail, things like that. There's a documented history of military use of weather weapons. And what are they pushing in the ionosphere? Because just look at the pattern. The jet stream has been pushed south considerably over the last 10, 15 years.
I remember in the run up to the Chinese Olympics, wherever that was, Beijing, they were openly saying that they were shooting crap into the sky to make it rain.
Yeah.
So that it rained before the Olympics. So I don't know. And also, I would like to hear Steven, because you're our resident conspiracy guy. Or maybe all of us are. I don't know. But these earthquakes happened in Turkey. And a week before, they had talked about this big cloud formation in the sky. I'm curious if you've heard about that at all, or what you think about it.
So there's some odd coincidences with the timing of the earthquake with Turkey, because Erdogan has been bucking NATO for quite some time, and with us having our backs turned, he's making some headway with all of his agenda. You look at the Forex charts; the Turkish rial is actually starting to gain some steam again. You can go back on the Forex charts and you can look at the Bo Bergdahl prisoner exchange. When they screwed that one up, I made some money on that, by the way, full disclosure. I saw that one coming a mile away. I had just come out of the online trading academy with my Forex training. And then I'm like, oh, this is the terrorism they teach us to watch about in the news and get away from the charts. And yeah, anyways. So we have ionospheric manipulation instruments, whatever, that the Air Force is running out of Gacona, Alaska, HAARP. Dr. Nick Begich is a good source on that, because he was plugged in with local politics in Alaska. He's written several books on it, done some documentaries. But so this tech was developed that we could bounce high intensity radio frequencies off of the ionosphere and reach deep water submarines to maintain radio signals. But then we figured out there's various other uses for it, like it could create sonic mirrors in the atmosphere, and it could magnify signals, and we could bounce it off and get stronger signals all over the place. But it also had some side effects. When you started manipulating certain areas for so long, that certain weather patterns would form. Well, Russia's big thing, and they were advertising right around the time Fukushima happened, that they have some kind of tectonic bomb, some kind of earthquake creating mechanism that they can bomb a tectonic plate and make it shift. And what? Yeah, there's all kind of just world-ending crap floating around. I mean, Tesla had the death ray in the 1920s. So I'm actually not on Twitter that much. I'm just on Facebook. I'm kind of a loser that way. Yeah, and you got to have beers with me to get the stuff out of me, really. So we've got the ionospheric weather manipulation. So does China. Russia has advertised that they have and have used their earthquake causing weapon, whatever. So there's all kind of stuff at play. And it's all stuff that's just, it's so unbelievable to us that if it were used, that, you know, it's like, oh, what a terrible tragedy. But it's just weird that, you know, this record magnitude earthquake happened in Turkey right about the time everybody's getting buck. You know, just odd timing. It's not, I don't know. I have a hard time believing it's just God going, hey, stop that.
Fair enough. Y'all have seen that Jeremy Clarkson NASA weather machine thing, right? Y'all seen that one?
No.
All right.
No.
All right. Well, you're about to. Let's see. So, y'all know who Jeremy Clarkson is?
I'm a
Grand
big
Tour.
Jeremy Clarkson fan.
Yeah, dude's awesome. His new show, or his newer show, Clarkson's Farm, is one of the funniest farming shows like that maybe has ever been created.
That's
I'm
on
not-
my list to watch.
It's so stinking funny because he has no idea what he's doing, but he starts farming just out of the blue. It's pretty great. But this is him. It was posted 4 years ago, but I think it was a little further back than that.
Don't worry if you can't hear what I'm saying. I couldn't even hear myself. This is the loudest sound you could possibly conceive. And as it turns out, the cleanest. Now, the most amazing thing is that cloud up there, which was generated by the engine, is just a mixture of hydrogen and oxygen. It's water vapor. And in about an hour's time, someone in Mississippi is going to get wet washing. It will actually rain. I told you.
Where are they right now?
They're in the U.S. It's NASA. I just don't know where.
I thought he said something about Alabama. I don't remember the city now, but maybe he's in Alabama? I just thought he was in England saying it was going to rain in Alabama, but
no, I think he's definitely in.
Which, by the way, Mobile, Alabama averages more rain annually than Seattle.
So do we, I think.
Seattle actually doesn't
lately.
rain as much as people think that it does. It's just foggy all the time.
Yeah, it's just always cloudy there.
It drizzles in Seattle. It pours here.
But anyway, I mean, just think about a machine like that. Like you could easily weaponize something like that. Like you just add one more chemical, just add one more compound to that mixture and shoot it up into the air, and you could.
I mean, it seems like if you can make it rain in an area, you can make it acid rain in an area. Just
an actual
crops.
acid rain.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
So the guy that was with our military that was doing this stuff at the end of World War II, Ben Livingston, he did a couple of 60 Minutes interviews, things like that. But he was just saying that, you know, back then, so they couldn't create the storm, but once the cell had been formed, they could magnify it and steer it, you know, or dissipate it.
That seems harder, honestly.
But it was much more low tech back then. I mean, they had to actually fly the airplanes into it. You know, but now we can just sit back and fire up a radio antenna.
I just imagine them lassoing the clouds back in the day. Like,
well, no, it was I think it was like silver iodide. They could get a bomb with silver iodide and just spray that everywhere.
how many bombs do they have to try first? Like, let's bomb silver iodide. Let's bomb copper. Let's bomb whatever. Let's just see what works. Let's bomb everything.
I think the idea behind it is that if you spray that into a cloud, it gives more like condensation nuclei. Because the hardest part of forming a raindrop is that each individual water molecule, there's not enough tension. You can't just start off by making a raindrop by having only water because they don't bind to each other enough. So you have to have these tiny specks. Usually it's like dirt or some other kind of tiny particle. But then the water molecules can bind to that, and then more and more water binds to it. And then eventually when it gets heavy enough and there are enough water molecules, that's a raindrop. And what I'm pretty sure what's going on with cloud seeding is you just spray a bunch of sulfur iodide or whatever it is, and then you have a bunch more condensation nuclei, and you can get a lot more rain that way. is how I'm pretty sure it works.
Holy mother!
And if you happen to put, something more electrically conducive into the cloud, there you have it. Then
I
then
didn't
it can
understand a word of
gain
that.
energy.
It's so great to have complete nerds on the
We're
panel
gonna
right
have
now.
the LP Georgia weather manipulation program after this.
No,
What is next
we
week
make
for
it
Red
cooler?
Mercury?
what's basically would happen, and it's like they're trying to do they're trying to make Snowpiercer a reality, right? Like where they try to send CO2 into the air to cool the Earth, and then it just froze the entire planet. I mean, that's
is that the
basically what's gonna
premise?
happen.
Well, so John Brennan,
That's what happens at the beginning. Yeah,
Gotcha.
That's how
So,
they get the train. Yeah.
John Brennan, when he was still leading the CIA, he got up in front of one of the international global circle jerks. I don't know if it was Bilderberg or Club for Growth or whatever it was, but he actually said that we're trying to dim the sun.
Yeah.
And,
a few people
of
have
course,
said that. That's like a goal.
Yeah, we're like, so are you chemtrailing? Oh no, they're not chemtrails. They're stratospheric aerosol injections. Always the wordplay. But it's an actual Pentagon plan. Bill Gates has got up talking about it. Apparently, Mexico just passed some legislation about the stuff too, because there was some startup company talking about we got to dim the sun to stop global warming. And Mexico's like, you trying to ruin our agriculture? How about no, bro?
I'm confused. I thought we got rid of the term global warming. Why do so many people still use that?
Oh well, yeah. Excuse me, climate change.
Okay.
We have to mitigate climate change.
It's because Steven is a bad person. I don't know. That's it. He's just bad.
Wait, is global warming an un-PC term now? I must have missed the memo.
Yeah, like 10 years ago.
Yeah. And actually, it used to be global cooling, like in the 80s or something. So,
I've got a book from the 70s. It was a CIA document about the coming ice age and what they're trying to hide from us.
So there were literal proposals to cover all of Greenland in black soot to try to prevent global cooling.
Goodness
I'm all right with that. Whatever.
Yeah. So few people live in Greenland, and it's half of it's more than half is like not even populated at all because it's just inhabitable.
But why would you do it to Greenland and not
just like
Antarctica?
the ice caps? Yeah, Antarctica. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, Trump wanted to annex Greenland, so I mean, it almost became part of the U.S. Was that so we could do this? I don't know.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I don't know, weather manipulation. What a weird way to go about fixing things, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. We got to stop climate change. Oh, how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to change the climate first and harder.
Right.
Well, could you think of, I mean, I don't know, because think about what happens though. Like, I mean, that rain cloud could prevent droughts, and it could actually help crops if you're growing. I mean, I don't know if Monsanto seeds actually need water, but
what the heck was that?
Sorry, didn't mute the phone. Just the Cantina theme. That's my ringtone.
Perfect timing for a funny little tune.
It was. I thought it was like something you clicked to make the stream do that. I was like, whoa.
So here's something cool that's kind of related to the whole weather manipulation stuff. So Gaddafi, right? Muammar Gaddafi, over in Libya. The Clintons helped him develop an irrigation system for the Nubian sandstone aquifer, because apparently part of Libya is sitting on top of one of the largest freshwater sources on the planet. And if he were ever able to fully install and harvest or harness the potential of this irrigation system, within a decade, Libya could have an agricultural system that would rival California.
Interesting.
And so you pair that with the oil and his plan to unite, I think it was 13 African countries under a gold-backed currency. That's why we had to off him.
Goodness gracious. What is it about people in power, or what is it about people who crave power? Like, why is that a thing in human nature? I just don't understand. Why do people want to control everything, control other people? I've never understood that.
which is the key reason why we're all on this stream tonight, because none of us
And the wrong
understand
people.
Yeah. It's just crazy. Like, and to do it on such a global scale, like I've had moments, obvious. I mean, I think everybody has, where you just want somebody to do something the way you want them to do it. And you kind of try to at least try to steer them that direction or whatever. But like to do it on such a global scale, the amount of narcissism and psychopathy that you have to have, it must be off the charts.
There's got to be.
Maybe this is another question for Steven as the conspiracy guy. Like, what do they believe that we don't? Because, you know, we're cool with just human cooperation and being good to our neighbor, but they're obviously on some other crap that we're not aware of. Is there a larger ideal that they believe that we don't? Like, do they believe that some reward is waiting for them?
I thought we established they believed in the owl god.
The what?
The owl
the
god.
owl god. I'm not familiar.
I guess on some level they do believe it's their job to, cull the herd or something. I don't know. But it's, you get those types together, like Edward Bernays, Sigmund Freud's nephew. He was
the guy who made the sauce.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, but he was the one that 7 out of 10 doctors smoke Lucky Strike cigarettes. Convincing women that it was free and liberating to smoke cigarettes.
Propaganda, basically.
That was some of his propaganda. People were not eating pork bellies in the early 1900s. It was garbage food. They were throwing it out, and so he put out this ad campaign that a heart healthy breakfast starts with bacon and eggs.
All right. Well, he got that one right.
He got that one right. That's a good one.
Exactly. Yeah. But then all of a sudden people were eating bacon and eggs.
Hallelujah.
And he didn't stop there though. Then you get paired up with there were some other brothers that were later on. Their names are going to come to me soon, but that's how all these secret societies get together, and they put these systems in place. And that's the crappy part, is that we're sitting here at the bottom of the totem pole, and they're 100 years ahead of us.
Right.
So you're about the Agenda 21, which obviously didn't happen. I don't know how they're off the rails with that, but now it's the 2030 plan. So they're always planning 10, 20, 30, 50 years ahead. And it's
sorry, go ahead.
Well, I don't really know how to beat it, other than that's the one thing that they never account for is just the free spirit. Just going, there's no logical reason. It's just, I'm not going to do it just because you told me to, damn it.
Well, yeah. And that's why all these ideologies never work. Like communism, the whole thing is, it works on paper. Well, it only works on paper because you don't take into account human nature. Like if you don't take into account human nature, it's not going to work. And so I think the same thing will happen with them. Is like, even though they will people do control large groups, they can never control everybody, because there are going to be people who full on revolt.
Well, what they've been really good at, and the reason why they've had to think so far down the road is, it's the boiling the frog analogy. They have to do it so slowly that you don't realize exactly what's going on. What happened? They had to speed it up, and so now just everything's coming out, so we know, the frogs are noticed that they're being boiled at this point, and so they're jumping out, and so they're starting to speak out against it, and so people are actually waking up because of it.
I think you
actually hit it on the head. I was gonna say, I think you hit it on the head when you said narcissism. You have to be a complete narcissist to think that you're like the savior and you have all the answers, and you should be able to tell everybody how to live their lives, what's right for them.
Yeah.
I think another point for optimism is that I think we think that a lot of these people are a lot smarter than they actually are, because we talk about them having these multi-decade long plans, but we also have to remember all these allegedly very smart and conniving people, the best that they have to offer us is Joe Biden. These are not impressive people.
That's fair.
And they are very powerful, but it's probably not as hard to get around what they're trying to do as we sometimes think that they are. I think
Right.
a lot of times libertarians think that our overlords are as smart as we are when they're probably not even that smart.
They're just good at getting what they want. Yeah, that's interesting.
So for every brain mastermind, you have a pinky that's supposed to carry out the plan with him.
Yeah.
You know,
I feel like that's a
always
white
work out.
pill. That's a good little white pill there, Zane. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the people in charge are stupid and we're way smarter than them. Let's see. All right, y'all want to go down a dark road real quick?
Let's do it.
Woohoo! Per usual, about 4 or 5 cop stories came out this week, or at least got posted all over Twitter this week. The first one is this one, posted by the Libertarian Party of Delaware.
Please. A head, R tail. Okay. This is tail, right? Yeah. So really, 20.
They're flipping a coin
Jordan. Hi. So
to determine whether or not
too
this
fast for
woman
right
goes to
now.
jail or
Too
gets
fast for
released.
conditions. Is it reckless? Yeah, you can do reckless. Do me a favor, step out of the vehicle for me. Put the phone down. Why am I being down? Step out of the vehicle. Turn around, put your hands behind your back. Turn off the car and pass me the keys, please.
So yeah, there's the first one. The cops literally, I don't know why they pulled her over, but they went back to the car, flipped a coin, decided to arrest her for something that she clearly did not do, and put her in the back of the squad.
Glad they're having fun.
Yeah.
I see Tim there, who I think is one of our guys. He says, I wonder if that officer can be charged with impersonating a legitimate police officer.
That's pretty good.
I think they are a legitimate police officer. That's it. So,
yep. I mean, what do you even say about something like that? Like, how do you get to the point where you're flipping a coin to determine whether or not someone goes to jail?
Yeah.
It's bizarre.
The problem is not racist cops. The problem is cops.
Yes. Yes.
You know, I would just say, and of course, I'm kind of partial coming from like a law enforcement family, but the problem is unchecked power. Doesn't matter where it is. Everyone needs a chin check every now and then, and there's a way to do it, and it's not always being done properly with the cops. Now, the body cams are a great step. Now here in Georgia, if we could get GSP to wear the body cams, because I know that there was something in the news this morning that there was a shooting, and there's no footage of the shooting because GSP doesn't wear cameras.
There was no footage of that protester shooting.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. The shooting that started the riots a couple weeks ago. But
yep, there's footage now from afterwards, but there's not footage of it.
Yeah, convenient.
Which is completely, that should be at least a fireable offense, and if not more, because you have the body cams, like, use them, and if you're not using them, then you're not qualified to do the job.
Yes. Also, how are these body cams costing so much? I read somewhere it's like $115,000 to outfit a cop with a body cam. You could get a GoPro
for him.
You could get a GoPro for $300 and just strap it to somebody's chest, and it could record all damn day. Like, what are we doing?
I have a dash cam on my car, and it just continuously records. I don't know.
That's so stupid.
Well, you gotta have the
it's because the government buys it. Anytime that the government has a contract, it's the rate is like 3 times what a civilian would pay for it.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Well, that's here in Fayette County. The Hikvision cameras. Right after they were put on the ban list by the State Department, the school board months afterward, dropped $250,000 on Hikvision cameras for the schools. Now, of course, this was during the COVID stuff, but they were like, "Oh well, it can do retinal scans and it can take their temperatures as they walk in the door," and everyone's like, "Hell no! What? No!" And so they're, don't worry, we didn't turn them on. They're, but they're still mounted. But they're not on. We didn't plug them in. Okay, but All right. Yeah, you put TikTok cameras in the freaking schools, morons.
Goodness gracious. All right. I'm just gonna keep sharing the bad ones for the next few tabs. Here's another one. This is a News Nation reporter pushed to the ground and taken into custody for doing a live shot at the Ohio train crash press conference. This is just a journalist who is literally live streaming a press conference, and they pin him to the ground and perp walk him out, and he's super calm, which is great. But this is a freaking journalist. He's reporting on a train crash.
That makes absolutely no sense.
Wow.
Can you imagine the level of propaganda that's necessary for these cops to do that and still think that they're the good guys?
Yeah. That's the really depressing thing, is most of the time the cops think they're the good guys in these situations. Or at least they say that in public.
I don't know. That guy has a pretty miserable look on his face. He's just like, I'm just go to your car. Jesus.
What was the statement from the police, like from the office or the
I haven't read much more about it. I read what happened beforehand, which was literally just him walking into the room and like literally live streaming the press conference, and they freaked out on him and put him to the ground. Considering he's just a journalist, I don't really understand. And considering it's just a train crash, I don't really understand.
Yeah.
God, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, that made no sense to me.
Well, and there's one here in Georgia. I don't know if you know Jessica Zalagi with the Georgia Virtue. No. She's down there in Savannah, Chatham County, Effingham, that area.
Okay.
But she's been hot on the city of Guyton, whatever. Okay. There's been some corruption there with, some contract handling and the way the police are doing things and all kind of sentencing problems. And she'd be a good one to get on here too. She could unload on all kind of stuff. But she has an official tail. They follow her because she's always she's in the courtroom doing her duty as a citizen, just witnessing things and typing it up on Facebook as she witnesses those, and they don't like it at all.
What's her name?
Jessica Zalagi.
How do you spell
Zalagi? I can send it to you.
Okay.
Let's see.
I just made a note.
Yeah,
that sounds great.
Yeah, I'll send her name to you after the show, because that she'd be one to get a hold of. She'll have all kind of dirt on improprieties of law enforcement all over the east side of the state.
I love dirt. This is a really creepy one. Undercover police on not in uniform.
What is happening? Where's she going? Where's she going? Where are you taking her? Where? You have to tell us where you're taking her. Where are you going? Where are you going? Help us! Help us! Who is this? What the fuck?
Put her in an unmarked car. Tell them that if they follow them, they will be shot. What the heck? Like, what the heck is going on here? And like, I have no idea the background of the story. I don't know what she did. I don't know what's going on here. But the whole way that was handled seems suspect, to say
no.
the least.
I mean, you would assume that she's being kidnapped. If it's anything, I mean, they're probably, you would think that they're not even really police.
Yes.
Right, and that's an agency that's just corrupt from the top down.
Yeah.
These guys obviously grew up watching Cops. And they were the kind of guys that if you start kicking their ass with the low kick in Mortal Kombat, they just unplug the Sega. That's those kind of people. They're wearing a badge and they carry a gun now.
Just unplug the Sega. Oh, my brother did that to me a few times growing up.
But that's these kind of people, that they put them through 6 weeks of a semi-military training camp and gave them a gun and told them they're the heroes now and they can do what they want.
Right. Jeez. Yeah, I mean that's a terrifying scenario where you see your friend getting hauled off in a car that has no police markings on it. They're not telling you anything. They're telling you if you follow, you're going to get shot. Like, in what world do you deserve to get shot for following a cop and following?
Depends on who the friend is.
Fair.
I mean, if
That's how I
it's
make it through
Jared,
Atlanta traffic a lot of times.
If it's Jared, yeah.
I see the sirens on. I try to tuck in.
Oh my gosh.
we'd be like, "Thank you. We were hoping you would take him."
Yeah, Jared, we're just going to keep berating you whenever you don't show up on this podcast because you should really be here more often than you are. I think he's shown up to one of these.
Yeah,
one. Pitiful. Where's your dedication? It's like what do you even do for the Libertarian Party of Georgia, Jared?
He's not even on Liberty Libations. What is the point of him?
This one's particularly disturbing. So this guy right here drove to his grandmother's house in a rental car. Didn't want to go inside and wake them up because it was like 2 a.m. So he went to sleep in the car with his pistol on his lap, which you're allowed to do in Indiana. And his grandmother called the cops because she saw a strange car in the driveway. The cops surrounded the car. And as soon as he opened his eyes and was getting his bearings, they unloaded on him. Like, didn't reach for the gun, didn't make any moves. And as that was happening, the grandmother realized that it was her grandson.
Oh.
A good ending, though. He survived somehow. He got shot like 8 or 9 times. Survived.
I'll be looking for his mixtape this summer.
And
he's now 50 Cent.
That's right.
Sorry, 50 Cent.
Right. But their first thing that they did, rather than, I don't know, stand like 20 yards back and say, please get out of the car, like come out with your hands up, that kind of thing. They stood right next to the car, 3 cops all around it, and just fired. That was their first instinct, was to shoot rather than actually de-escalate, or not even de-escalate. It wasn't even a situation yet. The guy was asleep. He just had a pistol on his lap. Like, come on. Like, people got to start training these people better because this is terrible.
So what do you think of the argument right now that, like, yeah, of course we need Cop City in Atlanta because the cops need better training?
Yeah, I understand the libertarian argument against it. I also understand that we do have the cops and they do cause massive problems. And so while we still have the police force, there should be much, much better training. And not training. The thing with Cop City is it seems more like a militarized, like anti-civilian setup. Whereas
that's what I was gonna say,
yeah, what we need is, how about like jujitsu training? How about something that is not going to kill a whole bunch of people? Something with de-escalation as its primary target. Just something that isn't what they're doing.
Yeah, I don't think we need a whole training center for them to go and learn how to basically take military tactics and go door to door clearing a city, clearing houses and stuff like that. I think we need them to actually, maybe go over situations where they pull somebody over and don't shoot them. Even if they're being aggressive. Yeah.
Down here on the south side, Butts County, they did that around Christmas time. Crap, I forget the comedian's name now, but it was one of his jokes in his stand-up that's on Netflix. But yeah, Butts County pulled people over at random and gave them Starbucks gift cards.
See, that would piss me off too, though. I'm just that kind of curmudgeon. Like,
yeah, I don't know how I'd feel about that, because getting pulled over, all those emotions that run through you right when you get pulled over, I would throw that card back in that cop's face.
Oh yeah. I mean, people were visibly upset. It's like mothers with kids in the car and stuff like that. But the guy's cutting up with him. He's like, hey, Sheriff Long, just wanted me to tell you Merry Christmas. This is from us to you. We just had to pick people at random.
Just do it. Just
there you
walk
go.
down the street.
No.
And hand
Here's
them
the thing. And then you can kind of go in the other direction and say they weren't just picking people at random. They wanted reasons to stop people and smell their vehicles or anything like that. And if they were a good person, then they got the card. But if they weren't, then if they saw something suspicious in there, then you know what, we're gonna arrest you.
There is some of that.
Most likely what happened.
With the whole, the sanctuary counties and sanctuary cities for the Second Amendment stuff. I can confirm that Sheriff Gary Long of Butts County was one of those that signed on, and I'm glad to live in an area surrounded by all these counties too. Fayette, Spalding, Coweta, all these sheriffs signed on that if tyrannical gun orders came down, like confiscation style stuff, they would resist. They would not let their deputies do that and follow through with it.
Love it.
So, and that's one thing. Like, I hate these videos we're looking at too. But at the end of the day, the local sheriff is the militia leader when shit hits the fan.
Mm-hmm. That's why we need more libertarians in that position.
Right. So it's one of those, like, these videos are upsetting, and it's our duty to speak out against them and put what pressure we can, but we also have to establish a rapport with these folks. So that way, because in tough times, we do need them.
Yep.
I feel like I'd be more willing to trust them if they weren't also harassing peaceful people for having a plant in their pocket.
Right.
Like, I've had friends who are cops who are like, I will never enforce drug laws. Not drug laws. Sorry. I will never enforce gun laws. I won't do it. And then I see them arresting people for like shooting in their backyard. And I'm like, you're enforcing gun laws right now because that person was in the county. They weren't able to do it.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not going to be any different when they tell you they can't have whatever accessory on their rifle. You're going to do it then too.
Right.
And like, thankfully, my friend's not a cop anymore. Welcome to the productive sector. But I mean, there's plenty of people behind him like that.
Oh yeah, and they drive around with the blue line, "Don't tread." It's like, bro, you are the boot.
Well,
come on.
Here's a little image that sums it up pretty perfectly.
Yeah, we went from Mr. Friendly to Mr. Will fuck you up.
Oh man. But yeah, the training would be a good thing because so my brother was in the Marine Corps, and he was telling me that after he came back from Japan one time, he was hanging out in Okinawa, and of course, Marines, Okinawa, weekend, you're off, it's time to go party, right? But he said if you ever get in trouble, so there's the way they do it over there is there's two cops that walk around. You got an old guy with a kendo stick and a young guy with a pistol, and if you're really doing something wrong and you're getting in trouble, the old guy with the kendo stick is going to blow a whistle. He's going to point at you. And he's going to point to the ground. And you figure it out later. Because if you don't, you're going to wish the young guy shot your ass. Because that's what they do. Like they have so much mandatory training.
Yeah.
All this kind of stuff. And the young guy with the gun is not to do anything until the old guy drops dead.
The only problem with that is that if you only train people to use kendo sticks, where's the $1 million boondoggle to build a cop training facility?
Right. And I'm sure if we did it, it'd be $100,000 kendo stick. So
it would absolutely be that. You got to have one. It's got to be carbon fiber. It's got to be a smart stick. Like, you got to have all these different features on it.
Smart stick. It really smarts when it hits you.
And what's really interesting about some of this too is and it really grinds me is because like our soldiers overseas have a stricter ROE than our police officers have here. Like
What's ROE?
what you can shoot for, rules of engagement.
Okay.
So like overseas, if a combatant drops their weapon and starts running, you can't shoot them, but it happens all the time here.
Yep.
It was like that video that was out last week where a guy apparently had a gun, but he was no longer a threat, and they were like kicking his face in.
Yep. It happens all the time.
Yeah.
I'll like every single week I have 10 new cop videos to show. And it's really depressing. Like at some point I'm just going to stop showing them because it gets
it's ridiculous.
But
well, and
has to
there's
be
whole
talked
zones. There's whole zones in Atlanta, because the Atlanta patrol area is split up into at least 5 zones. I don't know if they got a zone 6 anymore, but you hear a lot of the rappers, like Pastor Troy, from the early 2000s. He'd be talking about, he's cruising all over zone 3 and zone 4. I've done some survey work. I do land surveying work, and I've been in zone 4 on a Saturday morning, and you pass under the wrong bridge, and oh shit, rolling 6 Crips, and you get to the wrong house, and you're surrounded, and they're all, they all have guns on their hips, and they're, what are you doing? Taking pictures? You taking pictures of me? Because we're set up with the theodolite, taking measurements, not pictures.
I think the backstory here is you're a surveyor, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Not licensed yet, but yeah.
You're unlicensed. That's the way we like it. Unlicensed surveyor.
Yes. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. I like my pilot. I like my
Georgia's
surveyor.
got some silly laws for that. They make you wait. Good grief. But yeah, I'm in the waiting pattern. I've got the degree. I'm on the last year before I can actually take the professional exam. But I've been in the places before where I've called and said, "Hey, I've got a gang surrounding me right now. I need some help." And they're like, "Well, unless someone's dead or dying, we don't patrol that area."
Just call us next time.
Yeah, and I'm like, "Well, if you don't get out here, there's about to be some people dead, and I'm going to be one of them."
Yeah, call us next time. I'll be dead with you. It'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, I can take out 9 maybe if I'm lucky.
You're very confident in your abilities.
Yeah.
He's strapped. He has a suicide bomb on him at all times.
That's pretty good. Interesting. So you're a surveyor. We actually, if I flew you up to Montana, could you survey our land for us?
Montana's a little bit of a different beast, but yeah, I'm familiar with the public land system.
Okay. Yeah, we have a lot of neighbor disputes about where the pins are supposed to be and property lines and all this garbage.
You're gonna have to fuck them up. Like, teach
I can talk with you outside the show. I can help you look up your. So you go to the BLM, the Bureau of Land Management.
Yeah.
You can pull your the original maps there.
Yeah.
And that's when you get into junior and senior rights, that's what's going to hold over anything.
Yeah,
no one cares about this. We want you to go beat the neighbors up.
Well, one's like a 65-year-old man who's living there by
Beat him
himself.
Seems like an easy task then.
It might be an easy task. I don't know. He seems pretty scrappy. He's talking about putting in a fence around his 20-acre property on a mountain by himself. So I think he could.
Steven beating him up after this.
I can just put something in his mailbox about the Talmud.
He doesn't have a mailbox.
Scare him away.
Interesting. Why'd you get into surveying?
At the time, I had a good buddy that was into it, and Home Depot sucked real bad. I was kind of directionless, kind of between things, and started doing it. And it's one of those things that once it gets in your blood, man, it's amazing. Of course, I've been in the office the last decade, but it's physical, it's mental, you have to think, you have to keep your head on your shoulders. And, it's something new all the time. I love it. And it's the second oldest profession in the world. The oldest God approves of.
Interesting. So you can trace your career roots back to thousands of years ago.
Back to the Bible.
Yeah.
Wow. Pre-Bible. We're talking Mesopotamia.
Wow. That's pretty cool. You're like, never mind. I was going to go on a Parks and Recreation tangent, but I won't do that. Talking about notaries. I have one bit of good news. I'm going to try to, here we go. Massey's COVID-19 vaccine mandate on visitors to the United States finally passed. So there's no more mandate for non-U.S. citizens to get COVID-19 vaccines coming to the U.S.
So did the Senate pass that as well? The tweet just says that the House passed it.
Oh yeah, it does. I'm pretty sure the Senate passed it.
And I thought Biden said he was going to veto it.
Did he really?
I think so.
Okay, well, maybe I don't have any good news.
Well, so here's a glimmer of hope that I have in the news recently. So, the state of Georgia has been running a $5+ billion surplus in their state budget. This is now last year was the second year in a row. We're on the pace to do it again, obviously, because we don't need the income tax and we still have it. But we got that rebate check, the tax rebate check. That was how Brian Kemp was all, doing his chest beating and parading around that he's the best governor ever because I gave
$43 back per person.
Yeah, exactly. So anyways, now the IRS saying, hey, if you live in Georgia, don't file your income taxes yet because we got to figure out if this is taxable. So this could be a good judo throw for publicity because a lot of folks pissed off about this. Because it's you shut me down, you call me non-essential, you ruin my business, you ruin my life, you ruin my friends' lives, you kill my friends that go to the hospital through your stupid protocols. And now you're wondering, if the little bit of carrot you put in my face can be taxed again. Why do we have an income tax in Georgia? We don't need it. Our neighbors don't have it. They're kicking our ass.
Yep.
And obviously, if we had this big of a surplus, even after increasing the budget, we don't need it. They're making enough money without it, even with all the film credits that are being demonized all the time.
Yeah.
Good news is that's being talked about a lot in Republican circles. So
right. Well, even Democrats are on board with this.
Yeah.
You can table some events, you can talk to some of them, and Democrats will even come up to you and like, oh well, hey, let's make something happen. Okay, well, what common ground do we have? And they're like, well, how do you feel about labor unions? It's like, if you're using government as the solution, we're not going to get along. But hey, what about taxes? Oh my God, they're through the roof. I mean, even they are on that level now.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's not super widely known. I actually was the campaign manager for a state Senate campaign in the Republican Party this year. And I mean, we lost our primary, but that was a big talking point that I heard a lot of Republicans talking about was getting rid of the state income tax. It's a big deal. And then I also made sure to talk about legalization of marijuana every chance I got as well. So
there you go.
Perfect.
And it's surprising how many people are on board privately.
It
is embarrassing too that we're between Florida and Tennessee and we have an income tax.
Yeah.
And they don't. So.
And Alabama's halfway there. They don't tax military pension. So that's at least the segue, right? That's the one thing that would be like a slam dunk here was, we don't want our vets going over there.
Halfway seems a little much. Well, maybe 20% of the way there.
Well, sure.
Well, so I mean, is it pensions? Because disability is never taxed.
No, it's pension. So like, the retirement pension for the officers.
Yeah, because VA disability is never taxed, but your retirement's basically your income.
So that's my thing right now. Is I think we have a prime opportunity, especially while this is hot in the headlines. Up until mid-April, is call your rep, call your senator. Why the hell do we have a state income tax? You guys just got a raise. You guys just tripled your income that shouldn't exist for a seasonal part-time job. And, what are we really doing here?
Yeah.
Let's unleash the tourism and let's get rid of this income tax thing.
For sure. I have a question. It's when your rep is obviously not going to get rid of the income tax. Like, let's say they're, not libertarian, Democrat, they love taxes. Is there another route there for us? Like, how should we approach those people? Or is it even worth the time? I don't know. Maybe that can be answered today, but
their caveat they could put in that bill. Yeah, let's go ahead and do away with the state income tax, but increase the school tax.
Are they realistically going to do that because we asked them to?
Well, increase the school tax on my property, something. Even if it's like 10%. Which would be, I guess, would be huge.
Call a rep.
Yeah, but it's
call a rep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be your rep.
It's true. Call all the reps.
No, that's true. I agree with that completely. Yeah. It's like most of them don't take the time to figure out exactly where you live. So just talk to them. I've done that. And I've also ghostwritten stuff to be presented by other people who do live in the area.
Right.
So that makes sense. But
interesting. Well, Stephen shared this with me earlier, and this was something from back in 2018. I thought we might be wrapping up soon, so we'll end on a hilarious note. I don't know if any of y'all have seen this, but it's called Bull Soccer. And it's a bunch of people in little bubbles who play soccer at a rodeo with a bull.
you get $50 if you hit the fence with the ball, and you get like $100 if you're the one that's hit hardest by the bull.
I mean, that is hilarious.
Oh, and I know some folks in the unpatrolled area of Atlanta that would love to take part in this for $50.
All right, how much would it cost each of you to be put in this arena?
Too much.
That's
what do you mean by unpatrolled?
Well, like I was saying, I've been in an area before where I called for police backup, saying I'm surrounded by men with guns, angrily shouting slurs at me. And they say, "Oh, we don't patrol that area unless someone's dead or dying."
What were your slurs?
Well, they were towards me. It was honky, cracker, things like that.
Boring.
Yeah. Why are you taking pictures of me, honky? And I was like, well, I can mail them to you, but you're right here, so I figured I'd just drop it off.
We've got to come up with better slurs for Steven. I mean,
it shouldn't be too difficult. Anyway, they're still doing that too. I came across one from 2022.
Is that in Spain? They just love to be gored.
It looks like it's in Minnesota in the description.
It was in Minnesota. Yep.
Wait, is that where you're from, Sarah?
No, Michigan.
Oh, same. I can't do
same thing.
Letter.
Anyway, that's bubble soccer. Bubble soccer with bulls, which I just find absolutely hysterical. It's like
I was on board with the concept. I was like, I might do that one day. And then I saw the bubble deflate the instant it got hit.
Yeah, that's the risk.
Yeah,
you're done for.
Yes, like that bull's horn can go straight through that thing. If he just like glances the wrong way, it can. I mean, that thing's coming right at your face. Like I always wanted to play bubble soccer, just not with a bull.
Yeah,
bubble soccer.
I've actually
that's where you lose me.
Gotten in one of those bubbles before. No bull, but it was me and my sisters. But unfortunately, I weighed so much more than them that they would like run at me at full speed, but then they just collide off me and fall over, and I just still be standing there.
That's awesome. This might have to be at the Great Create. We should set something like this up this year.
Guess with Zane. Zane's in a bubble. We tackle him.
And going back to one of Matt Carter's comments from earlier about peak oil has happened.
Yeah.
I would encourage him to look up abiogenic oil theory.
Okay.
Or maybe abiogenic. I might be mispronouncing it. But there is a prevailing theory amongst longtime oil drillers. So they'll cap off these wells. They pour concrete in them, all that kind of stuff, and then they go over to somewhere else. But then they'll come back and do the exploration again, and sometimes these wells have replenished themselves. So it's not melted dinosaur bones, it's something the earth naturally secretes, which, when we find the stuff in the ocean, that's how we find it, because it's already gurgling up from the ocean floor.
So these wells are for crude oil?
Yes.
Interesting.
So it's a recurring secretion from the earth. Basically,
Right.
it's part of the natural processes. It's not just desiccated dinosaur bones.
Don't you dare say secrete again. That's awful.
Well, now that it's been mentioned, let's talk about the Great Create. I see we have an update to the website, Zach. What did y'all do here?
A lot. So
Nice.
it
Can
looks
people buy
different.
tickets yet?
Yeah, you can buy tickets now.
All
I fixed the
right.
problem that I created today. So
Heck
earlier
yeah.
today you couldn't. That was my fault. You can now.
Perfect.
You guys aren't using Eventbrite, are you?
No, it's all me. Like this is all
Okay, good.
WordPress and yeah.
Eventbrite's already canceled 2 events that I spoke at, so
We are using Eventbrite as like a booster. Like we'll put it there too.
Gotcha.
But yeah, we haven't been canceled
yeah.
yet.
No, yeah, that was I wrote it up for the Post Millennial last week. An event I did in Wisconsin a couple weeks ago was removed off Eventbrite. It was actually removed after the event though, so they basically they had to fight with Eventbrite to get the mailing list, and they had to fight with them to get the rest of the money that were basically owed to them, and they got a second strike on their account. But this was the second event that they've done this for me. The first one, we did a screening of Matt Walsh's "What Is a Woman" in Richmond, and then that they just removed it well before that event. And so they just don't like me. That's what I'm going with.
Unfortunately, like we can do all the ticketing and all stuff like that, but we can't do the promotion that they do. They just have a much bigger audience, so we use them a little bit. But if they kick us off, we can still do all the ticketing and all that.
But I mean,
that's every event that I'm doing now is changing to other services. I think even Log Cabin Republicans are switched to something else too.
Interesting. As far as like the message of this event though, like we don't have too many super controversial things on here. I mean, I guess we do have
Shane Hazel,
Edgar Mills with a gun on the home screen.
Let me tell a story real quick.
Yes.
So
story time with Zach.
I feel bad about this because some of these people are my friends. I love them, but I had musician friends who I was trying to get to play at the festival, and they took one look at the website and said, "There's too many veterans. We're out."
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, what the fuck? I mean, that's
Aren't
the
there
worst
two?
thing you could have said. I'm not just like a veteran, you're perfect, but that's your reason, is that Shane and Edgar. And at the time I had John Vaughn on here too, who's like another Army captain. He'll be there. He's just not on the website yet. And it's like, you have a problem with those people. And it's not like that I have a problem with Mac or Amanda or somebody. Like I would understand that. Come on, but
But here's the thing: is there's actually a lot of veterans in the liberty movement because we've seen what happens, like what war does up close and personal, and that led us to the liberty movement. And so why that doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah,
I mean, you guys are our best advocates a lot of the time because you've been put through the ringer. So
what? And that's if you saw the video I did for the anti-war rally that's happening next weekend in DC, I did a video and it was posted on their Twitter page.
Nice.
And it was basically talking about my story.
Yeah. And you were a logistics officer, which is like half of war. Not that we love war, but you're an important part of that. And it's not like you were a nobody in this. I think your opinion should be taken seriously.
Yeah, I mean, being a logistics officer, I've seen the cost. I worked heavily with finance, so I know exactly how much things cost in the military and what the cost of war actually is. As well, I was in the 101st and the 82nd. I was attached to infantry units my whole career, so I was supporting the front lines, and so I've seen exactly what happens. I mean, I was in RC East, Afghanistan. Like, we were closing fobs and everything like that. And I've been very outspoken about how we left Afghanistan and everything like that. And it's insane that they would say that would be the reason why they don't want to go to this event. It's weird.
What made you join?
Well, I was probably, I guess I was at the point I was probably a neocon. I was a constitutional conservative. I was part of the Tea Party movement. I was just very patriotic. I mean, I was a freshman in high school when 9/11 happened. So there was all this unbridled patriotism at that time, and you kind of got lost into what we were actually doing. And so I graduated college in 2009 when the recession was happening, and I thought about going in right out of high school. And so when I didn't have a job when I graduated college, going college op OCS was something that actually appealed to me, and I could do what my degree is in. My degree is in logistics management and marketing, so I could go into the Army and do and get that experience. And it was a great experience, and I my time was it was a great learning experience and everything like that. And in that video, I actually said, like, the worst thing that they did is exactly what they had to do. They taught me to see big picture, war and foreign policy, which is why I have a completely different take on, like, why we went to Iraq in the first place than I've ever heard anybody else say. Because I noticed that when I started looking at geography, you notice we were in Afghanistan. Iraq is on the complete other side of Iran. So you have Iran in the middle, and it gives you a double flank to keep Iran in check. Like, that's the only reason why I believe we were actually in Iraq. It's not to do with oil, not to do with weapons of mass destruction. It was to try to maintain order but as we know, all it does is destabilize the region even more, and that's all it ever did. And so they taught me to see big picture foreign policy, and that's the point. I was a big Ron Paul supporter, and I was like, but I just couldn't get past this foreign policy. That's the only reason why I could never support him. And about 5 years into the Army, I was like, holy shit, Ron Paul was right. Like, when they started teaching me big picture foreign policy, I was like, Ron Paul was right. We are destabilizing every region that we go into.
So at the time, you were more like pro-war, pro-military, and didn't like what he was saying? Okay.
I thought we had to have a global presence. I thought, war's awful, but I think that I always thought that we had to still have like a presence around the world, and it was in our best interest to maintain some level of control. Again, you kind of get into this mindset that, if we're not in Afghanistan, then the terrorists will attack us again, type stuff, and then you start to realize, well, there wouldn't be these terrorists that wanted to attack us if we hadn't, been involved in like other areas that radicalized, like Osama bin Laden was radicalized by stuff that we had done early. Our Middle East foreign policy has been really messed up even since the Johnson administration. So it's not anything new, and it's radicalized a lot of people against us.
That's right. The wag the dog thing. We radicalized the Mujahideen. To get the commies out of Afghanistan at the time. Soviet Russia was over there, and that was there's a whole theory that Osama was actually one of us. Tim Osman, trained in Fort Benning, Georgia. We sent him there undercover. Al Qaeda means the base because it was the training program that we had over there for our folks. That we were there to radicalize the Mujahideen, but also train, arm, and fund them. Charlie Wilson's War was a movie that was made about it. I mean, it was.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's very, very well known that, again, we were fighting a proxy war against the Russians in Afghanistan. And what's really interesting when you look at foreign policy too, I like to look at Israel. You know, we fund their Iron Defense domes, the Iron Dome defense system, and then we give the Palestinians COVID aid so that they can buy rockets from Iran to shoot into the Iron Dome defense system. So basically, we're fighting a proxy war against ourselves.
Yeah, we're both sides. Well, and that's because that's
we did that in Afghanistan or Iraq.
Yeah, so supposedly we created Al Qaeda
fighting against the State Department.
Yeah, supposedly we created Al Qaeda, and then Israel created Hezbollah.
I'm glad to have Steven here. Just like generally throw out what I mean, and you refine it. So,
well, y'all, I think it's time to wrap up. We're about 2 hours in, and it's my bedtime. I need to go to bed. So
it's mine too. Yeah,
me too.
Thank y'all so much for hopping on this. This was a blast. I had a lot of fun chatting with y'all about all this stuff. So, Sara, where can people find you? What do you want people to know?
Yeah. So most of my stuff just go onto my website, sarahhigdon.com. There's a links page, and it has links to literally everything that I do. So all my articles, everything. But then Twitter and Instagram is just Sara Higdon with an underscore. It's on my screen right now. And if you guys are up in DC, next weekend I'm going to be up in DC at the anti-war rally. So,
right. Do you want to talk about that, Jake?
Yeah. Let me, Zane. Why don't you tell people what's going on? Are you involved with like Fulton County? Are there meetings coming up or anything like that?
New chair of Libertarian Party of Fulton County. So not to step on LP Atlanta's toes. So this is like if you live in Sandy Springs, Alpharetta, Roswell, kind of North Fulton area. We've got our monthly meetup coming up on the 28th at 7 o'clock at Truck and Tap Alpharetta. So love to see you there.
Awesome. Steve, you got anything you want to talk about?
Well, as far as Libertarian affairs, local affiliates, Fayette County, we're meeting at the Lion Creek Bus Barn in Fayetteville on the 18th at noon. Love to have a beer with you if you want to come out, talk about some local stuff. We got a SPLOST tax we're voting on coming up, so that's going to be the hot button. They're always getting us for 1%, so that's going to be the push. So hopefully we'll have the local NAACP on our side against this one.
Nice.
We'll see what we can do there.
Nice. And this is what Sara was talking about. Rage Against the War Machine happening February 9th, only 9 days away up in DC.
19th. Yeah.
What'd I say? 19th, 9th? Whatever.
9th.
My bad.
Yeah, 10
February
days.
19th. 9 days, 14 hours, 28 minutes, and 18 seconds from now.
I didn't see that, and I thought you were doing that out of your head at first. I'm like, shit, Jake, you're good.
I am good, just not that good.
It's a great speakers list too.
Yes, it is.
Other than the one person that blocked me this week.
Who blocked you this week?
Scott Ritter blocked me.
Okay, well, that's not.
The rest of the
I mean, because he said
exceptional.
I'm not anti-war, and I'm like, then why are you speaking at an anti-war rally?
I see Cynthia McKinney on there, but we know she's across the country right now because that's what she told us.
Oh.
So I guess, I don't know. That just intrigues me. I don't know.
I didn't.
Like, is she gonna
when
be
did we get Tulsi
on
Gabbard?
rotation?
Is she one of us now? Because I hear mainline Republicans talking about she's going to be the Libertarian presidential candidate.
Who?
Tulsi.
No.
I don't think so.
Tulsi's bad on everything except war.
Okay.
Honestly, I think Cynthia McKinney is more us. She is a voluntarist, according to her, and she endorsed Adam Kokesh for president. I think she's more our than Tulsi.
Oh, she's a straight up activist. She's the real deal, man. That's you can just Google search her, and the news articles that come up don't really paint the accurate picture.
No, and very little I've talked to her, but she's a sweetheart and very willing to come on to this stupid show and just talk to us. So can't argue with that.
Interesting.
Gerald Celente is a good one too.
All these folks are pretty great.
Scott Ritter, who's that?
The convicted pedophile.
Anyway,
That's not anti-war, but speaking at an event. Yeah, that's who that is. I think I have to give Angela did a great job. Actually, the Libertarian Party's address to the email that came out yesterday about that whole situation was great, because people don't realize they are doing it with the People's Party, which is the communist, and so they all kind of got to pick speakers, and so the Libertarian Party is not associated with Scott Ritter in any way. They don't endorse it. They would have probably removed him if it was up to them.
Fair. But yeah, when there's something as important as this topic, it's good for people to come together, even people who oppose each other in a bunch of different views and a bunch of different other things. So it's nice to see people who are mortal enemies in some regard coming together over a common theme. It's awesome.
Agreed. Yep.
Wish there was more of that, but there's just not very much of it. So if you can, go up to DC on February 19th and join this massive crowd that's happening up there.
There's a Lincoln Memorial, so
yeah, should be pretty great. Sarah, you'll have to tell us how it is once. I assume Steve, Zach, Zane, y'all aren't going to make it up there for that.
I don't think so. We'll have representation, but not us.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
I really wanted to go, but can't do it this time. So anyway, yeah, I think that's all we got for today. I'm going to end with the Great Create on the screen, just to promote a little more LP Georgia. But thank you all for tuning in. We're currently at 0 watchers, but we had a few as we definitely had some people watching throughout the whole.
0 was the record,
time.
honestly.
It was pretty great. So thank y'all for tuning in. I missed the Free Georgia podcast this past week. Missed putting one out. I was busy renovating my house and got distracted and couldn't get to the computer in time. So there will be one this coming Tuesday. I believe Amanda Miller, Daywalker Comedy, is coming on, and we're going to talk about comedy and liberty. It's going to be great.
Nice.
So tune in for that, and you can always tune in next week to watch us, show more cop videos of people getting beat up by people in authority. It's great.
Cheers,
all right.
everybody. Thank
Cheers,
you.
y'all. We'll see y'all next time.
Well.